From the bottom, hey, about to be up in your face, putting groupers in the chase, putting work to paper bays. On the up and I'm on the road. You can eat and you cutting cold. I've been driving no cruise control.
Let's talk about Mariah May. So Mariah May reportedly has left AEW and is now a free agent and is more than likely going to end up in the WWE. And the negativity came right out. Meltzer made a comment. We're going to talk about this comment because it doesn't seem like he knows much about what he's talking about, which is usual. But it's just a conversation that I think we've had before, but we probably just need to have it again. So Meltzer says, quote, "It's the same situation with Stephanie Vaquer, where she would have made more money elsewhere. In Vaquer's case, a lot more, but their dream was WWE. WWE counts on that as the same reason they got May and Vaquer is also the same reason why they didn't get Will Ospreay and Kazuchika Okada. Because of the belief they would value a WrestleMania moment above a larger paycheck or a bigger push." Now, let's discuss this paycheck issue. Now, Stephanie Vaquer said that she was offered less money to go to NXT than she was to go to AEW, but she chose to go to NXT. Came out later on, of course, that Stephanie Vaquer had tried out for WWE, and she was a big WWE fan, and that's just where she wanted to be. It turns out Mariah May is in the same situation. She had tried out for WWE prior. She didn't get the job, so she went and got better. She went to Japan. She went to AEW. And now WWE wants her, and she jumped ship to WWE. So now there's this narrative that WWE underpays the talent, or WWE is lowballing their talent and tricking them with these carrots of WrestleMania moments. Now, let's talk about this real quick, because historically I've heard this sort of stuff before. Now, number one, NXT, when they offer NXT deals, they often offer NXT talent when they're just starting out money that they money that they can make on the indies. There's been quite a few guys, especially Ring of Honor guys, who they say, I could have made more money on the indies, but they ended up going to NXT for a reason. That's because there's a greater upside. There's greater growth on the indies. Now, one of the people who talked about this was Keith Lee. Big Keith Lee. The guy you haven't seen on television in forever. He talked about when he signed an Evolve contract, he took a pay cut to go to WWE because he was making more money on the indies. And he said this, it was easy to break six figures if you are a top guy, and being in control is something special. Doing that was like, I'm a baller now, so very far from it. But from that mindset, I'm doing all right. I don't want to take this pay cut and lose X amount of money. Eventually, I did, and with the belief in myself that I would exceed that fairly quickly. To be honest and fair, I did exceed what I was making on the indies, even in NXT. But the transition to main roster was like, oh, that's what it means to be on the main roster financially. Okay. So, WWE does offer people less money than they would make in New Japan or on the indies. But the issue is you're going to make more money later. This has always been the issue with the WWE. They were talking about this in the 90s, where there was a lot of conversation about Vince not giving guaranteed contracts, only giving quote-unquote opportunities. But guys would make far more money than they would later on, especially if the character caught on with merchandise, video games, etc., etc. They don't pay a lot up front in terms of downside guarantee. They want to see who's going to come in and who's not going to come in. It's not the exact same thing as you've been working here for years and now we're asking you to take a pay cut, like what happened with AJ Styles and TNA. It's not the same thing. WWE is testing the talent to see if they are willing to invest in the company, and then the company invests in them later. It's one of those deals, and some people don't like that, and hey, I get it. But it happens in sports. Guys take pay cuts to go from one team to another because they want to play in that other team. They want to play in that other market. There's a friend there they want to play with. You have a lot of stuff like that going on. Money is important. Upfront money is very important. Sign-in bonuses and things like that are very important. But what is also important is having an upside. Now, if you look at things from the perspective of Stephanie Vecchier and Mariah May, the two people that we're discussing here, since we're pocket watching, has AEW shown that they are willing to give position to other women? It's like, okay, well, Mariah May, she did a very good job. They got a great 2-year storyline out of her. She can't complain about her creative, but it clearly peaked with her match with Toni Storm, and they were not going back to Mariah May. It just wasn't going to happen. They had built their entire division, the women's division, around two people, Mariah May and Mercedes Moné. And if you're not one of those two people, the idea that you're going to get a top spot in AEW was not likely. There are more top spots to be had in WWE, including an NXT spot. But also, WWE, even under Triple H, it seems to rotate a lot more than AEW does. There's also more opportunities underneath that. You don't have to be the champion in WWE to be featured on the card. In AEW, if you're not the champion, good luck getting featured on the card. Almost no women get featured, and I'm talking about consistently over time, if you're not at least the champion. All right? So there's something to be said about not just making more money, a better push, but sometimes investing in the future. Yes, Mariah May got a big push immediately, but we all know that push was not going to be sustained. Look at some of the other women who have been in AEW for a long time and where they're positioned currently. People like Chris Statlander. All right. Now, they did give Willow a nice little spot in the Anarchy in the Arena match, but she's pretty much the only one. You know, but you look at Jamie Hayter, how she's been treated. Look at Britt Baker. She's not even used. Look at Thunder Rosa. You know, there's plenty of women who have been under contract to AEW for a really long time. They've been loyal to the company, and the company doesn't either A, doesn't use them, B, uses them as a welcome mat for other talent, or C, they send them to Ring of Honor. That's where Athena has been. I mean, not a day goes by that I don't open social media to go through wrestling Twitter and sees how people are talking about Athena in Ring of Honor and how long she's been there. She's champion for 900 days and all this sort of stuff. There's only so much of that you can deal with, and some people may look at their career and say, you know what, I think I can do better than this. And even if it means taking less money now, if I make more money in the future and have my WrestleMania moments and have an opportunity for greater growth and to be somewhere that I've always wanted to be, that seems to be a greater pull than working Collisions and Ring of Honors and then the occasional Dynamite on AEW TV. I mean, Deonna Purrazzo. Remember, Deonna Purrazzo quit NXT. She quit WWE because she was a jabroni. She went to TNA, became the women's champion. She became a double champion when she won the AAA women's title. And she left all of that behind to go to AEW, where she was featured for about 3 weeks. And then that was it. I think she lost to either Toni Storm or Thunder Rosa or somebody, maybe Jamie Hayter. And then that was it for her. She was done. Taya Valkyrie. Same thing. She left NXT. She got released. She worked in TNA. She was a success there. She, of course, was a big star in Mexico. She went to AEW, 3 or 4 week push, and then that was it. She sank down to the bottom. Over and over again, women have saw this happen, and that they're complaining on social media. Deonna Purrazzo even made the joke recently when a fan asked her if she was going to be on Dynamite. She said maybe in picture, because she does commercials for whatever online college she was going to, and that online college runs commercials for Dynamite. So she's basically saying the only way you're going to see me on that show is picture. Now tell me that's something you want to deal with in your career. Now, again, if you were being honest, you would say, AEW does not do a good job of showcasing the breadth of their women's division. They do a poor job of it. I talk every week since she came in about Megan Bain, how she should be produced and presented on this show. They don't do it. They just don't do it. They don't push her. She's Wonder Woman, and they don't push her at all. She won a tag team match on Dynamite instead of winning singles matches to make herself look dominant. You have both of the singles championships tied up in a Toni Storm Mercedes Moné match right now. As we speak, of course. This is leading into All In 2025 for those of you who might be listening in the far-flung future. All right? What about the rest of the women? When Tony Khan is asked about women's tag team championships, he says, "Oh, I'll think about it." Well, how else are you going to... You're not doing a good job of featuring women in terms of personal feuds. You're not doing a good job of them when it comes to championships. So what else are you going to do? You're not going to introduce a tag team division for them, or at least you're slow rolling it. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. You got both of your singles titles tied up with your two biggest stars that nobody can beat. And you're not giving any opportunities to all of the other women that you already have on the roster. Now, compare that to what WWE is doing. There's still some women in WWE who are underappreciated, obviously. But there's a whole lot of talent down in NXT who are getting a shine and they're getting an opportunity. And there is always that opportunity that you're going to get called up in order to rebuild the women's division on the main roster. There's not a lot of people sitting on the bench on WWE's main roster when it comes to the women. Some, Candice LeRae is probably, I know for a lot of people who are fans of hers, she's not used enough, and maybe B-Fab and Mia Yim aren't used enough, but they are featured on the show. They're seen on the show. It's not like months and months go by before they do anything. So it makes sense to me why people would choose WWE over AEW. They're looking at the entire wrestling landscape. They're looking at the creative situation. They're hearing certain things from the WWE side. We don't know what other magic words they're using other than WrestleMania. There might also be all sorts of outside opportunities, like Jade Cargill was allegedly lured over to WWE with all sorts of Hollywood connections and things like this. So we don't know what exactly they're telling these talents to get them to jump ship, but they're not pressuring them with insane amounts of money. And to be quite honest, that's a smart thing to do because wrestling is a business that is all about money. But in the 80s and 90s, it became about more than money. It became about merchandising and outside opportunities and a bunch of other things that, quite frankly, AEW has not caught up with. Tony Khan has the pocketbook. That's not a problem. And it's never been the problem. Again, indie wrestlers, we discussed this from the very beginning, many of whom have said, I took a pay cut to join NXT. But overall, the upside of working in WWE and all the outside opportunities is simply better. And until AEW fixes that, they're going to see themselves as being mostly a farm system for the WWE. A long time ago, all the wrestling promoters like TNA, etc., they realized they could not pay more than WWE, so they offered something that WWE didn't offer. A lot of that was creative freedom. AEW, here it is 20 years later. Again, TNA has been around since 2002. 20 years later, that's really the only thing that AEW offers. Well, we offer you more creative freedom. Well, that's great if you're a Toni Storm. It's great if you're a Mercedes Moné. But if you're a young female wrestler just trying to get started, who cares? If you're a Queen Aminata, let's say, she gets a decent spot in Ring of Honor, but she's mostly a loser, and she's been there for years with no forward momentum. Layla Gray, been in AEW for years, no forward momentum at all. Even after changing her character, no forward momentum at all. Who wants to be caught in a dead-end job? Even if it pays well, a dead-end job is still a dead-end job. You're a young person. You might want to take that opportunity to see how working on the other side might go. And if you're in the WWE, And you might be getting paid more money in WWE. But if it's a dead end job and you're not going anywhere, a guy like Ricochet, could have made more money staying in WWE. But he left because he had been stuck there in that mid card forever. And guys have routinely left WWE where they would have made more money because they were creatively stuck in a rut. But now the reverse is true. And anybody who is not speaking to you about this honestly is a liar. When people get stuck in a job and they don't see any forward momentum, money is not going to keep them there unless they are extremely money motivated. Otherwise, they will take the loss to go somewhere else to do something else. We've seen this 100 times. We've seen this among men and among women. So it's not a surprise to me. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.